Hey, I'm Jason Moon Wilkins, and we're inside WNXP Sonic Cathedral with the artist Mon Rovi. And being someone who's from Monroe, Louisiana, but some people say Monroe, which one we're going with? Is it Monrovia or Monrovia?
Monrovia.
Okay,
Yeah.
Monrovia. This is good. We have to get these things straight because
Yeah.
we're going to say your name a lot on the radio.
I appreciate it.
Um, I first became aware of your music 2021, and I can say it musically a little bit differently, than what you're presenting now. That there's a little more beat elements. There were some things that would fall under, I would say, like maybe alternative R&B,
Mm.
and and now you found yourself in, as you describe it, Afro-Appalachian folk world. What for you was a turning point musically that you said, "Oh, this is my voice, and this is where I want to go."
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think I got more comfortable with myself. I knew since I was young, I'd always listened to a lot more singer-songwriter types of music. Folk, whether it was Fleet Foxes or even just Bon Iver, for example. Growing up, those are people that I kind of looked to. But at the time when I was doing dark content, I'm assuming is what you speak of.
Yeah.
Um, you know, rap and all those that was more of a kind of at the forefront of music is what everyone was doing. So I wanted to experiment more with different things and see if I could find a footing in that. But and the project didn't do exactly what I was hoping at the time. And I remember Eric, one of my good friends and also works in the team, he was like, "Hey man, why don't you just go on TikTok and, you're great with the ukulele. You're writing these awesome songs that no one's hearing. Why don't you just go on there and just see if you can just play be true to yourself on that." And so I started, I think it was December 2022, every day, just kind of going on TikTok live and playing for people in the mornings. They'd come, and sit at work or, be working from home and just have my channel on, just listening to these songs I wrote. I only played originals. And we started to foster a community. And that really is what, I think pushed me to keep going in this way.
Yeah.
I started to find people that actually, they liked what what they were listening to. So that really kind of helped me find my voice and be comfortable.
Well, and was the ukulele as an instrument helpful too? I mean, it's something that obviously features pretty predominantly on everything you're doing now. Was that marriage of your voice and that instrument also like, oh, this feels good?
Yeah, it did feel good. I think something that attracted me to the ukulele was the simplicity. I don't think I'm anywhere close to being a crazy instrumentalist or good at chords or anything like that. I like finding simple melodies, and then I was able to write deeper things because of that.
Yeah.
And really just hear the lyrics, and the ukulele helped me with that. And the voice kind of changed, with the instrument. It brought out a different sound in me, one that I didn't know I really had. And so I would say, and so that was, a major part as well, just with the ukulele bringing that out. So, yeah.
Well, and you mentioned TikTok. I had been following you. You'd played some shows here. I'd seen your name. I follow stuff that's happening in Chattanooga as well, and had listened to your music. We started playing the song Bone a little bit too. And then it was one of those things where, like it does with everyone, checked out for a minute, checked back in, and you had gone from a certain amount of plays, on Spotify and the rest of it to a bunch more. I was like, oh man, what happened? What do you attribute that to? Was there sort of a point at which you went, oh, there's a lot more people paying attention to what I'm doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say TikTok is a big part of it. Being on there daily, gaining that audience was huge, and learning social media strategies that would help push the music to more people. I think getting out of my own way and not getting too serious of being I'm a serious artist, but being able to be silly and also push to bring value to people was a big part of what we realized was what people were looking for at the time. I think there's a shift in music now where people are not really into a lot of the ego and different types of all the gold and diamonds. They're looking for things that can really help change and answer questions in what life is with all the things that were going on. And so, I think our mission really speaking to, deeper heart issues of the larger population has helped us bring a value to people and their lives. And that's what's caused, I think, a lot of the growth.
Yeah. Well, and I hear, there's a lot of hopefulness in your music. I also hear a lot of religious imagery, and I was reading. Shout out to Teen Vogue, by the way. You have
Shout
the
out
best
Teen Vogue.
article on you. Period.
Teen
It was
awesome.
deep, man.
Yeah, it was deep, man.
They went into every place that you've moved, everything. Like, I truly shout out.
That's funny.
And one of the things that you talked about in that article, and it's something that I've had numerous friends, and certainly in Tennessee, is not an unfamiliar thing, where you were raised in a religious household where you weren't even necessarily exposed to, what people
Oh,
south of Mason-Dixon call secular music,
yeah.
until teen years, until the stuff you talked about, Fleet Foxes, Bon Iver, Vampire Weekend. Um, you know, I hear this show up in your lyrics, though. I hear, you're talking about Jordan, you're talking about the furnace. There's different places where it pops up. Is this something that you've heard back from fans, people who listen to your music of various different faiths who, connect with this because it does seem rooted in something deeper?
That's a great question. I don't think I've paid too much attention to, or at least I've not heard too many of my fans speak too much of the religious aspect, which is interesting because it is a lot of my music is coded
Yeah.
with trying to understand. I think just my own growing up and the different intricacies with and the relationship with religion in general.
Yeah.
And so I love to ask that question because I do think life is very spiritual, whether you believe in anything or not. There are just things that move without your control, and we don't have much power over a lot of things in life. And so there's always that question of, what is the unknown hand? What are these things that we are susceptible to in our lives that we don't know? And so I try to play on these themes a lot in music to have people question. I think I enjoy that, and it also helps me dive deeper into my own complexities with my own faith and how I see the world as well. So it is, yeah, it's very rooted. Thanks for asking that. Man, no one asked me that question. It's a great question.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone asks you after this, you can say you're stealing me. Yes.
Yeah, you got it here first.
That's right. Well, it helps that I was also raised in a very religious house. So when you say certain words, I'm like, oh, I know where that's coming
Yeah,
from.
and I know some people
Yeah.
will know. Like, you thank
Yeah.
you, Jordan. Yeah, you're great. So good. Yeah.
Well, you gave us a handpicked playlist for this Artist of the Month program, and in your description, you said that it might surprise people. You don't listen to a ton of music, but a lot of your inspiration comes from what you read. But you left us hanging there, not telling us like what you've been reading. So, is there something even in the last year or two that you've read that you've been like, oh, that has directly inspired your music?
I would say a lot of James Baldwin's writings. I mean, I'm currently reading a lot of his different essays and things, but it's actually a lot going into the civil rights era too. Like right now I'm reading like Amiri Baraka's book about the different layers of Dante's Inferno, and he's basically talking about this experience of the Black experience and puts it in these different layers, playing on the themes of Dante's Inferno. And I don't know, I really am getting into trying to understand a lot of their process, how they fought social, injustice, and how the mirroring of that time and those times is still now.
Yeah.
And so what can we take from there to speak into now? I think is super important. So I'm just trying to really understand it. So I'm very interested.
Yeah,
in that.
that's amazing. And there is. I've been thinking about this same topic a lot lately because when you look at particularly turbulent times, a lot of times the music rises to meet it. And late 60s soul music, 70s punk, the conscious hip hop of the late 80s, early 90s. And this moment is a little different. There's a lot more sort of what one artist called diary entry music, right now. But we are entering, an even more turbulent time potentially, if the last month is any indication. So it obviously has been on your mind. How do you see the role of an artist, a songwriter, in a time like this?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to accept, at times being loved by many and at times being on the outside and scrutinized. I think as an artist, truth has to be the epicenter. And so for at least my writings, I try to go into whatever I talk about, and we have songs that will come out that are a little bit more forward in certain aspects. Whatever I talk about, I have to know that what I'm doing is hopefully, it won't bring everybody along, but you have to be okay to bring some and be happy with those that do see the truth of the matter, and accept that. I don't think you can clearly bring everybody into this awakening, but the truth is there is a big social, there's a big conscious revival going on around the world right now in many countries, and that's why there's so much unrest, and so many people, the people just don't want to be in a daze anymore. They're trying to, they're seeing the webs that have been spun, for the first times in many places, and are willing to use their voices to untangle those things. So the artist, this is the most important time for an artist to be able to use their voice and yeah, just not be afraid of maybe the consequences that could happen. You won't be loved all the time, and that's something that is hopefully you can find something deeper to push you, because the love of the people all the time is never going to satisfy, and so hopefully the music can carry you through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I in the same Teen Vogue article was reading more deeply about your journey, and it's an amazing one. At the age of 7, right, you left Liberia, where you were born, and in an article recently too about an organization that helps refugees. I wonder for you in this moment where, I mean, literally in the last week, there are organizations who are having to halt some of their programs and things like that. I imagine this has been on your mind, as of late, being someone who's even in that article, an outspoken advocate for people who are doing that work, helping people from various different places in your situation, a war-torn country that was not safe for you.
Yeah, it is on my mind. It's a really heavy time. And I mean, the only thing I can really hope is that those people that are striving for these good things and are striving for others continue to be just as radical as the actions that are being taken against all the good, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do in this period, is hopefully we can all come together on this side of things and be just as loud and force things back. So yeah, we can't shy away from it.
No. Listening to the new EP, which is Act 4, right?
Yeah.
Atonement, another religious reference. I was like, okay, Acts, here we go. But love the songs, and I particularly love the song Dead Man Walking, and I wanted to see if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that song.
Yeah. Dead Man Walking, I think about my own life, and the tales of, I'm sure Lazarus and things like this.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big theme of that whole idea. And for me, I remember, being in a pretty dark place at the time, and I think about everyone's dark night of the soul. I think some people think that you can't come back, or it's too soon for you to come out of something. Like, say you were addicted to something, or maybe you've had a past of whatever that may be. And the too soon line is, I throw that in there as almost like the people telling me, like, it's too soon, like, don't trust this person.
Greek chorus.
Yeah, right? Like, don't trust this man. He's not ready to come and do good or influence whatever is going on. But it's really a call for just people to realize that, they can come out of that grave, that place, and whatever time that is, it's always different for each person.
Yeah.
And to really trust that if someone's really trying to push good, regardless of the past that they may have had, to welcome them and let them go and do those things. So yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on that project too. So I appreciate you talking about that.
That's really, really good.
Yeah.
You've described your music as Afro-Appalachian music, and you've talked about your own journey about discovering the role that African Americans played, essentially creating some of these genres that now people look mainly as white: folk music, country music. And I wonder for you, I mean, there are other artists who dive deep into this, talk about it, and some of the people who are either here or from around here, like Rhiannon Giddens or Allison Russell, maybe Joy Ladakun. Have you connected with any of those artists?
No, I haven't. I really hope I do in the future. I have not connected with any of them as of yet. I know they're legends, and would know and teach me so much more about just the history of it all. In a sense, the history of Afro music in just the South and everything found me because I happened to be in Chattanooga, just living there and hearing, kind of knowing a little bit that, say the banjos from Africa, like all of these little things that you hear, but then, myself kind of diving into it and realizing, yeah, there's a lot of, it's interesting to see how that folk music was whitewashed over time, and became what it is now. And it gave me a lot of energy to, even be a little bit more proud in being in the space. It's hard. I don't, there are a lot of, I think, African Americans popping up now more so, with guitars and things like that, and realizing, that they don't have to fall into, and of course, rap is one of the most beautiful things. And I would say, directions you could go into music. But I do think at times, at least the youth, I think can feel pigeonholed into that experience.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that you can go a softer way at times, and speak from the heart in a different texture. And I think that's the most important part of the African Americans now that are, and there's been many before. I'm just saying that because folk is such in the scene now.
Yeah.
That influence has been cool to see, I think, on the younger generation. That is hopefully, hope as they pay attention to that scene.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, representation is a huge thing.
Yeah.
We've talked to,
Mhm.
Brittany Howard, Joy Lodcoon, folks like that about that and how important it is to look up and go, oh, I can do this.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Chattanooga, based there, but you've been over here some. Have you interacted at all with the Nashville music scene? Have you been beckoned this way at all?
I think there's people that would like me to come up here a lot more. I don't know, man. I stay in Chattanooga.
It's a beautiful place.
It's a
Don't get me
beautiful
wrong.
place.
I'm the last person to down. I love Chattanooga. So,
I don't know. I don't know how much I'll dive into the Nashville scene too much. I know my like label and also my managers. They're like, dude, there's good people out there. You got to go to Nashville more often. So I do hope to meet more people out here for sure, and maybe create some music with some great people. That'd be awesome. But for now, I've just kind of been hiding away in Chattanooga.
Hey man, that's a good place to hide away.
Yeah.
I go down there as much as I can.
Yeah, come anytime. Let me know when you're there, man.
Hiking capital of the world, man. It's like,
Dude, it's beautiful, man. We love it.
Well, last thing, you teased a little earlier that you've got some more music coming. What does this new year look like for you? You obviously starting it with this EP coming out, and you don't have to be in a rush to do anything else. But what else might be on the horizon?
Yeah, we've got a lot of great songs on the way, and hopefully, hopefully we get out a project that's a little bit bigger and a little bit more vast, explaining more of the story and more of my life that I've yet to tell. So it's there will be more music this year, and I really am looking forward to, I think, inspiring and more people with music.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Mon Rovi, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much for the questions, man. This was beautiful. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Really. Hopefully
Thanks,
we'll
man.
be back sometime.
Yes, we'll get you down here or up here. What direction are we?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.